Your Voice, Your Vote. Written by Leah Henderson. Illustrated by Keisha Morris. Your Voice, Your Vote. Written by Leah Henderson. Illustrated by Keisha Morris. Ketta drew giraffes by the window as the clock clicked behind her and people shuffled by outside. But Mommy's bus still hadn't arrived. "Are we going to make it?" Ketta asked. "We'll make it," Grandma said, pinning on her Sunday hat even though it was only Tuesday. Ketta wasn't so sure. "If I don't have school, why does Mommy have to work? Doesn't her boss know it's an important day?" Ketta dug in her ribbon box for her fanciest bow. "Well, if they don't, your mother sure does." Grandma nodded toward the window. Ketta spotted Mommy's sunshine-bright coat as she stepped off the bus. Grandma grabbed her coat, purse, and umbrella. "Hurry now. Get yourself ready so we can go downstairs to meet her. Make her journey a little easier." "You don't need that umbrella, Grandma." Ketta hopped down the steps. "It's a perfect day for voting." "Baby girl," Grandma said as they reached the bottom step, "if you've been on this earth as long as I have, you know to always welcome sunshine. But be prepared for the rain," Mommy added. Ketta skipped along the sidewalk. At the corner shop, Miss Louisa crisscrossed hair but gave Ketta 2 finger snaps for her flower bow. And while pigeons pecked breadcrumbs tossed from Miss Swatty's windowsill, Ketta slowed, waving at Mr. Miguel and her other neighbors as they dressed up the old brick wall. A basketball swooshed and sneakers clapped pavement as Ketta's friends played double dutch, but Ketta didn't have time to stop. Today, she was going to vote. "Hey there, Little Miss Little. Where y'all off to this afternoon?" "To vote," Ketta beamed, standing tall. "Well, it's a mighty fine day for it." After several stops, they waved goodbye to Mr. Eugene. Not too long afterward, they squeezed onto their next bus. No seats or space in sight. Ketta was relieved when their stop finally came. Then she did arabesques between Mommy and Grandma as they waited, and waited, and waited some more for the number 28 bus to arrive. The doors creaked open at their final stop. Ketta couldn't believe her eyes. The line stretched down the block like double Dutch ropes. As they journeyed along the line, Miss Rochelle blew them a kiss before her wheels whirred. Imam Khalid gave them his widest gap-toothed smile. And Mr. Tyler tipped his hat while Lil T chased dragons through the pages of his book. Everybody had to wait. And now Ketta, Mommy, and Grandma waited too. Ketta counted the flowers on a woman's coat, the stripes on a man's pants, the beads in a little girl's hair, and all the shoes in line as they inched forward like tiny birds waddling along telephone wires. Ketta bounced from one foot to the other. Tired of waiting, the sun grew tired too. It slipped behind clouds. And soon raindrops polka-dotted the ground. "Shouldn't we go home? It's raining," Ketta said, watching raindrops paint some people wet. "People have marched and fought and sacrificed too much for too long for any of us to turn back now," Grandma said. "When I was about your age, certain people did all they could to stop my daddy, mama, and granddaddy from casting their vote. They'd make them pay a sum many couldn't afford, and quiz them. How many bubbles in a bar of soap? Or how many seeds in a cucumber?" She studied Ketta's face. "Would you know how many jelly beans filled a jar?" Ketta shook her head no. They were supposed to, Mommy added, and if they didn't, they couldn't vote. Not everyone has had it easy when it comes to voting, Grandma said. Remember how we met Mommy outside so she wouldn't have to climb the stairs? Keta nodded, thinking of how Mommy often took breaks going up to their apartment after a long day's work. Well, some people are made to face stairs every day, Grandma explained, while others never have to climb many at all. But that doesn't mean we stop climbing. What's at the top is too important. Grandma squeezed Keta's hand. It's where we find our power to help make change. I guess a little rain can't stop us then, Keta said, no longer ready to leave. IDs, please, a man requested. Mommy placed hers in his hand, but Grandma was busy searching her purse. If you don't have it, ma'am, you won't be able to vote. Keta thought about all the people who had fought, marched, and climbed for them to have their chance to vote. It was Grandma's turn now, but was she going to lose it? As Grandma rechecked her purse and pockets, a pile of knots filled Keta's belly. She searched the floor and peeked under the tables. Grandma's ID wasn't behind the trash can or in the clothing drive bin. Keta sprinted toward the line. Excuse me, please. She poked her head between people waiting. Have you seen my grandma's ID? She asked the tall woman, and then the freckle-faced man. It's her turn to vote. But they each shook their heads no. The freckle-faced man asked the young lady behind him to look beside her shoe, and then the lady asked the person behind her, and so did the next person, and the next, and the next. It's here! Dr. Ito, who always gave Keta a lollipop after her shots, waved at her. Keta sped over, and there she saw Grandma's ID tucked behind a little flower that had punched through the sidewalk. Grandma, Grandma, Keta called as she raced back up the line. We found it! Now we can cast our vote, Grandma said. And use our power, Mommy added, hugging Keta. To raise our voices, Keta said, hugging them back. Grandma spun out of the voting station. Day had tumbled to night, and the line was still long, but no one turned away. Keta smiled, feeling proud. Like her family, Keta's neighbors were determined to use their voices and their votes, just like she would too one day. Author's note. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Barack Obama. When you turn 18, your vote will be your voice. It will be your opportunity, your responsibility, and your right to decide how your community and your country are being run and what issues matter to you. Voting gives you a say in the safety of your neighborhood and the quality of the air you breathe, in who is able to live and love freely and who is not. Voting gives you a voice. The outcome of a vote can affect the buses and trains you ride, the school you attend, the environment, and so much more. A vote holds great power, and for some that power continues to be denied. Since the founding of America, unfair laws have been put into place to exclude certain people from casting a vote to decide their quality of life for themselves and their country. Many of these citizens are people of color, the elderly, people with disabilities, and young voters. They are faced with strict photo ID requirements, but many may not have the right documents or money to get them. Their polling stations are located far from their local communities, so, like Keta and her family, people often travel on multiple buses to cast their vote. They are made to wait in long lines, and sometimes they are met with broken machines or other challenges. Voting hours are often reduced, making it hard for shift workers like Keta's mother, who cannot leave early from her job. Often polling stations do not consider all these needs of citizens with disabilities. Like Ketta's grandma said, some people are made to face stares every day. Although taxes to vote and literacy tests about jelly beans are gone, other barriers have risen to keep some voters away. In order to change this, we must all use our voice and our vote. For further reading, (1776) After the signing of the Declaration of Independence, only property-owning white men can vote. 1790. The Naturalization Act of 1790 passes and free white male immigrants are eligible for citizenship and voting rights. 1868. The 14th Amendment grants formerly enslaved people citizenship. However, state-controlled voting regulations disenfranchise many African American men. 1870. The 15th Amendment prevents states from denying African American men the right to vote. Throughout the South, voting taxes, literacy tests, and intimidation are used to hinder them from voting. 1920. The 19th Amendment grants women the right to vote. However, many Native American and Asian women are still barred from citizenship. The Indian Citizens Act grants all Native Americans citizenship and voting rights, although some states create laws to deny this right. 1952. The McCarran-Walter Act passes, and all Asian Americans are eligible for citizenship and voting rights. 1964. The Civil Rights Act declares that all citizens, regardless of race, gender, education, national origin, or religion, have the right to vote. 1965. The Voting Rights Act outlaws literacy tests and declares it unconstitutional to limit voting rights to anyone on the basis of race. 1990. The Americans with Disabilities Act ensures voting accessibility for individuals with disabilities. Present day. Nationwide, voting district boundaries have been moved to affect voting outcomes, and record number of voting restrictions have been introduced, such as photo ID requirements, constraints to voter registration, and reductions in early voting, impacting the ability of members of many minority communities to vote.